Arsenal, City and Spurs with regulation 3-0 wins. Chelsea dropping points at Brentford. And as sure as night follows day, Liverpool with an injury time winner against Burnley. This is the North Bank's weekend wrap. It's game week 4 and we take our Monday morning look through the weekend's action with an Arsenal viewpoint. As ever, Liverpool getting their injury time winner put a bit of a dampener on it, but on Saturday we had a very, very enjoyable experience at the Emirates, winning 3-0. But I'm your host, Holly. I'm joined by Chris. Hi, Chris.
Good morning.
Yes. How are you feeling about the league table as it sits now, Monday morning? We're sitting in second place, 9 points. We're sharing that pleasure with a team I can't remember. I think it's they play in white, I think, and but we are sitting 3 points behind Liverpool at the top. So, what's your kind of sense of where we find ourselves after 4 games?
I mean, from a purely Arsenal perspective, you can't be too disappointed given the difficulty of our, the fixture list as it's panned out. I think it's just contextual looking at where, regrets in terms of what could have been and in terms of watching the other teams and how close they came to dropping points. That's the real kicker. So I'm sure we're going to come on to all that. Yeah,
I think. As a good narrative, we'll start slow and we'll build the tension towards a bit of an anticlimax, actually. But it could have gone another way. But it didn't. Not this time. So the weekend start. I mean, again, it's like, which teams do we pick as being threats to Arsenal? So I've started with Newcastle. Newcastle winning 1-0 at home against Wolves on Saturday afternoon. I'm taking it in the order in which the match has kicked off. The only reason I've picked the Newcastle Wolves game, I didn't see it, is I just wanted to say Alexander who. Just because he didn't play at all. He wasn't in the squad at all for Liverpool. And his replacement at Newcastle, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Wultemeda.
Yes.
He scored the only goal of the game as Newcastle beat Wolves. I think that's quite important. Do you see Newcastle as a threat, not to the title, but as a threat to top 4 perhaps this season? Or what do you think would constitute a successful season for Newcastle, all things considered, and they are back in the Champions League?
I think it's got to be just top 4 for them, really. Isak is such a huge loss to them that this guy scored a perfectly good centre-forward goal. So let's see how he pans out. But yeah, I think top 4 is the best they can hope for.
Top 5 might be good enough again. I don't know how the coefficients work or the
sure,
mechanism
but in that
works.
Terms of the bracket at the top for Champions League qualification is kind of what I mean.
Who would you have them vying with for that 5th spot? If you say that Arsenal, City and Liverpool will occupy the top 3 spots in whichever order, Chelsea probably as a 4th, and they might do better than that. I don't know. Jury's out on Chelsea. Well, whatever Chelsea turns up, whatever team he picks, I have no idea. Yeah. But who do you see as kind of vying for that 5th spot alongside Newcastle?
I think the obvious, or maybe not obvious, choice would be Spurs.
I actually forgot about them.
Well, I just don't think. Obviously, they're not going to play as badly as they did last season, and I do think they've got the right man for the job, as much as it pains me. I think they'll be certainly top 7, let's say. I made a note, actually, that my dark horses to push for, say, 5th would be Bournemouth, because I think
Which is mad when you think about it.
Well, they did very well against Liverpool, and they've been just quietly going about their job, considering they lost the
entire defence.
Right. But greater than the sum of their parts, a really good team, really well drilled. I watched the Brighton game. It wasn't a spectacular game, but they're just a very solid team. And I just think they could be my dark horse for, to sneak into that top 5.
Because before the season kicked off, you would have added in Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa.
Yes.
But Villa haven't scored a goal in 4 games. And Forest, well, Marinakis is...
They're having the season now that I thought they would have last year. I didn't expect them to be as good last year. I had them down as relegation fodder, basically. And so they surprised me. But this year they're going to get anged, aren't they?
Yeah. What Steph gave the quote that Ange gave in his post match. He said it'll take 3 days for them to get big anged. If you want to put it that way. So I mean, I'm looking forward to what that actually looks like.
talk about put yourself up there to be shot down. He's a master at that, isn't he?
Well, he said like his second season trophy is going to be the championship.
Yeah.
He hasn't said that. We've said that. His second season trophy. He's playing a clever game here.
Yes.
Like relegation this year.
I told you.
Okay, right. Well, it'd be interesting to see because the season has started in untypical fashion with a selection of clubs. Actually, you mentioned Spurs there. That's the next game that kicked off. They had a very run-of-the-mill 3-0 win away at West Ham. Now, before that game started, I was hoping that West Ham would bring some of because they won their previous game 3-0 away at Forest. Not to be sniffed at that result, and they played pretty well as well. I watched most of that game, and they were fully meriting that victory at Forest, but they are so poor. I mean, that club is. I've got a soft spot for West Ham. I taught and lived in that area for 6 years. I taught Mark Noble, lovely guy. I've got an affinity for West Ham as a kind of your second team kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just have a soft spot for West Ham. It helped that in the 6 years I taught around the corner from their ground that Arsenal played them in the League and FA Cup quarterfinals a couple of times, and in the league then twice a season in the league, and we pretty much won every single game. And so as a teacher there, I had a great time. The kids not so much. And I really don't want them. But I mean, the bowling ground, Upton Park, was one of the Premier League's great away
Classic
days. It was like I
cauldron,
loved it.
wasn't it?
You felt threatened, you felt intimidated. The atmosphere was white hot, and it was a great experience. It's just become soulless.
Yeah.
That stadium is not a football stadium. I feel sorry for the fans because they are really. I mean, they turn up in. They have 60,000 there.
Yeah.
It's a proper supported club. You hear about. It's like a northern club, a one city club, like Newcastle in the south. West Ham are a proper football club in that sense.
Yeah. And their history is all about. And I know it's a cliche, playing football the right way.
The academy, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm old enough to remember John Lyle and that kind of football.
Was he Richie Pauling's era?
He was related in some way. But they did have a kind of swagger. They were never going to win titles, but they had a swagger about them. They're classic players if you look through their list of, from Billy Bonds through to Brooking, who scored that accidental goal against us.
Yeah, well, that's my earliest Arsenal memory, really, the Trevor Brooking header in the FA Cup finals. I should hate West Ham, but I don't. I do not want them relegated. I think they'd be a big loss to the Premier League.
But what is their identity now is the question. They've gone through these different iterations, and now they're... the Graham Potter, what is their style? From what I saw against the Spurs game, they were containing Spurs and then just trying to break, hoofing it long. It just didn't seem... what the identity was, which just wasn't.
It's difficult to know whether it's a Potter problem, which I don't think it is, or whether it's a club
personnel.
Well, it's not even. I don't think he's been backed. Sold their best player. Kudos to Spurs. Can you tell me who they signed?
No.
Exactly. Right. I'm sure they've signed some players, but I can't tell you who they are. And
like Palace,
Jared Bowen. He's like. If they stay up, it's because he hasn't gone, and Paquetá as well. But he was he almost gone to Villa? Hadn't he almost gone to Villa on transfer deadline day? Yeah, so Spurs rocked up, and Spurs coming off the back of quite embarrassing 1-0 home defeat to Bournemouth, and not embarrassing to lose to Bournemouth, but the fact it was like 19 shots to 1 in favour of Bournemouth.
Oh, they were schooled completely.
In that sense. So Sarr scored on 47, then Souček was sent off on 54. I think it was a red card. It was one of those, if the referee hadn't given it, I still think it might have gone to VAR and he might have been red carded on VAR. I don't know. It was never going to break his leg, but it was studs down the shin. Again, the barometer for me is if it was an Arsenal player on the receiving end of that, I'd want the other players sent off. And then Bergvall scored on 57 and Van der Ven on 64. And at that point, I was thinking this could be any score.
I was looking at the goal difference in the table. I know it's early days, but if they get one more, they're level on goal difference with us.
So and it didn't pan out like that. So Spurs. You've said you'd lump them in with Newcastle, considering they finished 17th last season. Finishing top 7, top 8 this season would be considered progress for sure. But they have got a sensible manager, haven't they? They
have, and they bought well. I know we laugh about the way they've missed out on Eze and Nkapie, but they have bought well, and it's just it looks a balanced first 11. I'm not sure about the squad depth, but
well, they've got Kulusevski and what's his
Madison
face?
yet to
Madison
come back.
out injured.
Yeah.
Simmons the jury's out for me on Simmons. I'm not convinced. This is nothing to do at Spurs, but when we were linked with him, I wasn't convinced about the quality he actually possessed. But we'll see. Matthias Tell, not so sure about him either. Kudus obviously is a very good signing, and I think they just might struggle to score. Saying that off the back of they went to Man City and scored 2. They scored 3 on the opening day against Burnley, and they scored 3 again yesterday. So
that scoring by committee thing has worked for us in the past. So you never know.
True.
They don't really have a. You wouldn't regard what's his face, the ex-Bournemouth guy, as
Solanke,
a classic number 9. Yeah.
No, and they've got a couple of really good young players in Bergvall and Archie Gray. They were the 2 best players last season. Yeah, I think top 7, top 8 definitely for Spurs. I think anything lower than that, and that would be considered as a disappointment. Breaking into the top 5, I suppose they're fighting for 5th. That's what they are.
That would be huge for them.
Well, absolutely. No, they're fighting for 5th. Okay, weekend moved on to probably, from an Arsenal perspective, the highlight as such. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Man United compete with that. But Brentford at Chelsea at Brentford. Now, Chelsea have benefited from 2 really dodgy VAR decisions in previous games. The Eze free kick shouldn't have been disallowed, and then the Fulham goal shouldn't have been disallowed. And that has kind of contributed to Chelsea's points tally so far this season, definitely.
Yep.
So it was really pleasing to see, and I did not think it was going to happen, to the extent that as soon as Caicedo scored on 85 minutes, I stopped watching.
Yeah.
I switched off. I thought, I'm not having this. Why am I doing it to myself? And was absolutely thrilled when I switched back on again, and the Fulham players were doing a little kind of lap of honour, clapping to the crowd.
Brentford. Fulham were probably doing it as well.
Yeah, this is true, as well as Arsenal and Liverpool, so they dropped 2 points. Now Brentford away. So Chelsea are unbeaten. They are, themselves and Liverpool are the only 2 unbeaten teams so far in the Premier League, which after 4 games is pretty, it says something really. But Chelsea will definitely perceive that as 2 dropped points, especially having gone ahead so late in the game. Where do you see Chelsea based on their start? Where do you see them?
In terms of where they finish, or as they are now, sort of snapshot of as they are now?
Combine the 2.
I think, initially I'd say he's spinning plates, Maresca, because he's got this, riches of talent, inverted commas, but just not sure how to assemble them. And he tried to rotate yesterday with the Champions League in mind, and it didn't really work. First half, Brentford were the better team, deserved their lead, I think. You could argue about how they play, but it worked. The issue for Chelsea is going to be just balancing, the issues that we've had in the past of, bringing in, finding relationships that work, bringing in players that are, squad fringe players. And I think that's where he's at now. They've ridden their luck, like you said. I reckon they're still going to be good enough to finish, annoyingly, in that sort of top 5 bracket ultimately. And
Cole Palmer came off the bench. I think he had a little injury beforehand. Came off the bench and played quite well. Scored a goal, but I think, and I might be completely wrong with this, but I don't care if I'm completely wrong. I like it if it's true, and if it's not true, shoot me. Don't care. No, don't shoot me.
No. Metaphorically,
Zubamendi's got more open play goals than Cole Palmer in 2025.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So I just get a little bit nauseated at the adoration people have, and people like the media have for Cole Palmer. I don't know. Yeah. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. And Man City would be better if they'd kept it. Would be a better team if they'd kept him. And Chelsea are a better team for having him in the side. But his first open play goals since like the 1st of January or something. Come on, that's rubbish. It's autumn. It's cold again. We've had a whole year. We've had all the seasons since. But anyway,
how do you see them shaping up?
No, I absolutely. I think they're a level above the Spurs and the Newcastle, and I think they're a level below Arsenal, Liverpool. Arsenal, certainly. City's an odd one. We'll come to City in a minute. So I think fourth. I think fourth is a shoe-in for Chelsea. Anything lower than fourth would be disappointing. Anything above fourth would be real progress. I think fourth is par for the course for them. Qualify for the Champions League again. Go into next summer. Oh, they have, since we spoke, they have received like 74 charges for I don't know, whatever it is they've players. I don't know what
transfer,
it was.
Misdemeanors or something. Yeah.
So we'll see, and they've only got a week and a half or a week to answer the charges. So it doesn't sound like it's one of the 115 cases dragging on for.
No, and I think
years,
in their favour is that they made the evidence available rather than being found out.
That's very kind reporting. They had no choice. They had no choice, and also
they complied.
And also, yes, they did. Whereas City allegedly haven't complied.
They've been obstructive. Yeah.
But just because it was under a different ownership and different regime is a moot point. That they should and still will be punished. Hopefully, I don't know what that punishment. But it could be points deduction. It'll more likely to be a transfer embargo, which will absolutely destroy Chelsea because their whole business model is built on buying 30 players, selling 30 players every calendar year. You know, that's how they generate their address PSR. But anyway, all right, we'll see. I think it's a par for the course start from them as well. They've played 4 London derbies, but they haven't played anybody. Who've they played of great significance? They've played Palace. Who do they? Fulham, Brentford, and
West Ham.
Oh, they hammered West Ham, but then
who doesn't?
It's in the name, isn't it? The Hammers. So, so they've had a pretty easy start by comparison to us. You know, we've gone to Old Trafford and Anfield and played Forest at home, who qualified for. Well, Forest finished 6th last season. Was 7th?
In the conference, aren't they? They're in the Europa Conference.
No, I think they're in the Europa League, aren't they? Forest. Because Palace are in the conference. Yeah, Palace are in the conference.
Yeah.
So we've had a much more difficult opening, and we're a point ahead of Chelsea. So I think fourth is par for the course for Chelsea. Okay, Sunday's games. 2 games on Sunday. Big Arsenal interest, big personal interest. First one, Burnley 0, Liverpool 1. Now, if you just look at the stats, Burnley had 3 shots in the game. Liverpool had 27. Okay, so if I didn't know the score and didn't know the timing of the goal, you're thinking, I had no expectation that Liverpool would drop points before the game kicked off. And this is what I did, and I'm not advocating this, children, but this is what I did. In the 90th minute, I put a tenner on Liverpool to get a winner. So I'm 50 quid up. The odds weren't even that. Just to show you how inevitable it was. The odds weren't even that kind. And I'm not advocating gambling. It's bad.
It softened the blow for you, right?
It did, and that was it. Because I just knew it was going to happen, so I might as well get something out of it. That was the sense I had. You did you watch the game? You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through the inevitability of the second half.
Well. Well, to begin with the first half, I just thought, the Liverpool were just there was a sort of swagger about them. I thought they've thought it's going to happen eventually, and all that was happening was they were battering them and they were getting back in. Burnley were just getting back into their shape, and it was just a very predictable kind of. But it just looked Like they had a sense that they would just make the breakthrough eventually, and then they sort of upped the pace towards the end. And like you said, there was a sense of inevitability. We joked that it would happen on the 89th minute mark, and I was waiting for it to happen. But they never, it was just like hopeful balls into the area, and I'm sure you'll come onto it in terms of the analysis of those 26 or 7 shots.
Do you know how many were on target?
4?
4. But their XG was 2.45, which is quite high for 4 shots on target. Burnley had no shot on target, and their XG was 0.13. So this it's funny. It's the eye test versus the statistics. Yeah. The statistics say it was an absolute hammering, a 1-0 hammering, whereas everybody else has said that Liverpool cannot sustain this level of play throughout an entire season. But it's the mark of champions, Chris, isn't it?
Oh, that was the first thing I did this morning when I turned on the radio was the commentator, this lazy trope, well, it's the mark of champions. And right, normally I would agree if it was something they'd actually played, in open play, for example, or even just a set piece. But the manner of it, just slinging in another hopeful cross and the guy jumping for some reason, getting his arm out. Maybe because he'd just come on, he wasn't quite there, tuned in with the game. I don't know, but what a bizarre thing to do. And there it is on a plate.
It just doesn't happen to us, does it?
No, or when it does, the narrative is completely different. Arsenal needed a lucky penalty to scrape through against plucky Burnley.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because their winner against us was like the 83rd minute. And I think all their other winners, the 3 other winners, are all in injury time.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh.
Yeah. It's not sustainable, and I'm sure they'll get better is the annoying thing.
Isak's got to come in. Isak didn't even play. It wasn't even named in the squad. And so he's still to come in. Looking at the fixtures they've played, they've played at Newcastle. I think going away to a promoted team is a potential banana skin of a game, and Burnley are built on a defence. They were never going to come out and attack. They were playing for the draw, and they've hosted us. Who was their other game? Bournemouth at home. So it's not the easiest opening 4 fixtures they've had, and they're sitting there on 12 points with Isak to come back into the team. Now, I noticed there was a really bad tackle on McAllister in the first half, and I've seen it again. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see that one actually.
Right, and it should have been a red card, and VAR should have called it. It was above the ankle studs. It could. Unlike the Souček one at West Ham, this one could have broken a leg or broken an ankle, and no red card. And I noticed that McAllister didn't reappear for the second half. So whether he's picking up, and I'm only saying that because here we are bemoaning Saka, Havertz, Saliba, Jesus, all out injured, losing Ødegaard after 13, 15 minutes again. And Liverpool, their only injured player prior to going into the game was Frimpong, and he was on the bench, and he came off the bench.
Yeah.
What have they done? How have they earned this luck? Because look at Man City United game yesterday. Even you could list 4 or 5 players from each of those squads who are injured, but not Liverpool. No. Make it make sense, Chris. I don't understand.
I can't. I think that has to just that question has to just stand there in the ether because I can't answer it. I don't know. You could argue the training is different. There's whether they take a more holistic approach to health within the squad. That makes them so robust. The way they rotate more than us. I don't know.
Le Grove does say that he did say this when Slot was appointed first that. He one of the reasons they would have been attracted to him is his training is not as intensive as Klopp's was. So there is an element of that. But we've had muscular injuries, but if you take Ødegaard or Saliba, they're not overplayed injuries. They're freakish. Yeah, just luck, just bad luck. Like they're kind of in-game injuries. They're football injuries. You get a knock on your ankle, you roll your ankle. That happens. You fall awkwardly. You yank your shoulder. Jar your shoulder. I mean, it happens. It's bad luck. It happens. Where's Liverpool's bad luck? And I know though Liverpool fans will point to Van Dijk's terrible injury a couple of seasons ago, where Jordan Pickford tried to almost snapped his leg the wrong way, bent his knee the wrong way. It was horrible challenge, and I'm not wishing that on them at all. But come on, a few little hamstring injuries wouldn't go amiss, especially at the back. It's I don't know. Liverpool, the team to beat, aren't they?
Oh, without a doubt. And like I said, it's as if they haven't hit the ground running. They're getting all these lucky wins, and they are nowhere near their best.
That's
clearly.
the fear, isn't it?
Right. So I cling to the hope that they don't have as good a defence and midfield as us, and I stand by that. I don't think they do, and they'll have their bench as well. Do you look at their bench and think, ooh?
I will when Isak's on it.
Well, but that's a dilemma in itself. It's like, where do you put Ekitike? How do you keep them happy with these big signings?
Well, Ekitike stopped scoring. Gyökeres has the same number of goals as him. It's like, it's Gakpo. I mean, Ekitike can play on the left, Isak through the middle, Gakpo on the bench. But Gakpo's probably been their more well-rounded striker. I mean, Salah's got a couple of goals, hasn't he? But they're both penalties.
Yeah, I think they are.
So you can't, he's not on form. And again, his form has to dip just because of age, surely. He cannot sustain that. Last season, the season of seasons he had. He's
going to do AFCON, which will hopefully just knock him out of his stride a bit.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll do really well there and
go to the final
6 weeks. Yeah. They're home to Everton next weekend, but they're also home to Atletico Madrid on Wednesday, so they've got, I'm just thinking the weight of games for them might. Well, I'm just clinging to anything. They didn't have the World Club, whatever that was, in the summer, so they're well rested. So they should, in theory, be suffering the same level of stress injuries as we are, but somehow they're not. But Van Dijk doesn't run, so that's probably why he's not got any muscle injuries. He doesn't need to run. He's that good. Okay, moving on from Liverpool, because it's just boring.
Too painful. Yep.
Yeah. City at home to United. Did you watch this game?
I watched it, yes, in bits, but again, it got to 3-0 and I just turned off because it was...
I found it a really odd game because I messaged the group at one point saying, City, this could be any score for City. And then about 3 minutes later, I said, but City look really dodgy at the back. United could be scoring goals here. There's plenty in this for us next Sunday. City obviously travel to the Emirates next Sunday. I wasn't blown away by City at all. I think defensively they are very suspect. Like Man United had so many opportunities where it was 3 against 3 and just made an absolute hash of it every time. And even on top of the chances they did have, they could easily have scored 3 or 4 goals themselves, and City could easily have scored 3 or 4 more goals themselves. What was your sense after the game?
Oh, well, when it started, I thought there was a lot of endeavour from United. I thought they were up for it, and there was an energy about them. Obviously, that alone doesn't win you games, but I was kind of hoping that there would be a bit of a contest. And then it became apparent that they just couldn't make it stick up front. Sesko, I thought, had a really rough game. He's, for a guy who's 6'10" or whatever he is, hold it up, man. He was just not at the races at all. Just cohesion-wise, we know they're a kind of mixed bag. They don't really have a great balance about them as a team, and I don't think the 3 at the back is working for them. But he's determined to make it work, isn't he? He's just plugging away.
Well, he says in one breath, I will do anything to, change the fortunes of this club, but I won't do that. Isn't that a song? I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
But I won't do that. Well, if he's prepared to die on that hill, fair play, mate. But
he's put it to the club, hasn't he? He said if you want I'm not changing system. If you want to change the system, you change the man.
Change the man, yeah.
He just doesn't. He just wants to get severance pay, doesn't
his
he?
Paycheck. And I think the Grimsby was the watershed for him. The memes that went around after that. I just think it's reached a point now, unless he does turn it around, say by Christmas, I think it's untenable. I think they've got to put a run together.
I think they've got Liverpool on the horizon, not next game, but the game after, I think. But they've got like a week between games because they've got no Europe, they've got no League Cup now, so that's a lot of time to fester.
Yeah,
there's a lot of time to work on it, but the system's not changing, so they've got nothing to work on.
Right.
But again, injuries like Cunha, big loss for them. Mason Mount didn't play, and he started the season quite well. I know United fans have an issue with he's like the teacher's pet, Mason Mount, and he plays regardless, even if it's the left back or left wing back, which is ridiculous to play him there, but just to make sure that system remains rigid. I must admit, one of the best sights in the game yesterday was Harry Maguire chasing down. I say chasing down, I use that phrase extremely loosely. Erling Haaland. I was like, mate, what are you? No.
Yeah, it's like pushing a fridge down a hill and watching it tumble.
Mark Goldbridge said it's like having a race between a Ferrari and a brick.
You've got to feel sorry for him. As much as we sort of loathe United, for the wounds we bear, I kind of feel sorry for Mark Goldbridge.
Listen, I'll go on record. I like him. I think he speaks sense when he speaks about Arsenal. I think he's absolutely hilarious when he's agitated at United. His
similes are brilliant.
His similes are like, because I was wondering where he's going to go. A foot race between Haaland and Maguire is like a race between a Ferrari. I'm thinking, what's he going to say? Like a Morris Minor or something? I don't know. A tanker? I don't know. A brick? No, wouldn't have gone there. Wouldn't have got to that one. He's not. It's inanimate. Like he's gone. Anyway, so I thought fair play.
Yeah, and City again. It works for them. The long ball to Haaland. Can't argue, can you? He's so ruthless. So
City then, obviously pre-season joint in the top three favourites. They've played 4, they've won 2, they've lost 2. They lost at home 2-0 to Spurs. They lost 2-1 away at Brighton, and Brighton haven't had a great start. So, I'm not sure how good Brighton are this season. We'll see. For me, it's a strange one. I know they had a few players out, but Foden played well yesterday. He did. But where do you see City after their first 4 games? Bearing in mind we play them on Sunday, so egg on face, remember?
Let's wait and see who comes. I think Marmoush was out, wasn't he?
He's out for our game as well. Cherki was also out, so I don't know for how long.
I think it's similar to Liverpool in a sense of like when they gel, when they've got... Okay, Liverpool don't have the injuries, but when they click, I fear that they'll go on one of those mad runs that they've had in the past. So with City, you just never know. Again, I feel we've got more than them as a team.
Yeah.
But all it takes is, one of those balls through to Haaland, and he's just deadly. So I'm approaching this week's game with a sort of cautious optimism.
Yeah, but erring or even falling more on the optimism side than the caution side, which is dangerous territory because they can harm you. But again, we'll see how many of our players drop with injuries in Spain tomorrow. And we'll see who's back. Saliba will most definitely be back. I don't think he's going to play against Bilbao, but he'll definitely be available against City. However, and you do want him. I would start him against City. Absolutely. As good as Mosquera has been, I would be starting with Saliba against Haaland. Definitely, there's no question. But if Saliba is injured or isn't fit enough, I've got no issues with Mosquera there as well. I mean, I got it wrong in the last pod. We didn't pay 15 million. We paid 15 million euros.
Yeah.
We only paid
it's about 12.5 million. Yeah.
How on earth have we done that? When you look at the stick that Chelsea fans have given Joral Hato already, and he was twice the and I only use him as a comparison because we were linked with him the season before, similar age.
And we mentioned Euro in the last pod as well. What United paid for him and what they're paying him weekly. It's a good bit of business.
I actually think he's a good player. I actually think he is a good centre back, Lenny Euro. But he has got Luke Shaw beside him, and Luke Shaw Someone said, I saw a tweet this morning which said, I've been watching Luke Shaw make mistakes in big games since I was 15 years old. I'm now 25.
Oh dear.
We shouldn't really dine on the tears of others, but, you know.
In this case.
Yeah. Listen, we've suffered. Anyway, yeah, City. It's difficult. We'll see. We'll have a much clearer idea as to where Arsenal and City are at about 6:30 on Sunday evening, and we'll look at it then, I guess. Right, okay, that's it. We've done a quick weekend wrap. We've overrun a little bit. Apologies for that. I'm sure, Chris, you'll edit some of my guff out. But anyway, so thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy Bilbao tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio. Bye.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.